Hey guys, welcome to another video. I am so glad you're joining me. This particular layout is, well, this is me at 3 a.m. in the morning when I can't sleep. This is what I create. I had this idea in my head, and do you think for love nor money I could get it out of my head? No. So I got up and scrapped. You know, what are you supposed to, what else can you do? My neighbours do have a new puppy, and I'm choosing to believe that it was that got me up, not my overactive brain that just needed to scrapbook. Let's just put it out there like that. Now, what you can see me doing here is I used my compass. I created a circle with a radius of 5.5 inches, and I am sectioning off. I did go around and measure, and I am sectioning off triangles, and you can see there how I made a quick little template just to be able to block out the outside of the circle. So this way I'm able to stamp and not go outside the circle and keep all my stamping within the triangle. That's what I'm doing. Now, I used my new VERSAFINE CLAIR inks. You can see them here. These are new to me. They are amazing. They don't have the colour range like the Distress inks and Distress oxides, but they are beautiful. Like, you guys know I'm not a stamper, right? But I very much think that you can fake it with really good products. They make it really easy. So what you can see me doing here is I'm just making a couple of masks with just a post-it note. Nothing fancy. My family was asleep. I wasn't going to use tools in here that were going to require heat tools or anything like that, or make Cricut or otherwise. So I'm just making little masks, I'm cutting them out up the top end of the post-it note so that I've got the sticky bit. Okay, so basically when I'm stamping these, what I want to do is not go over the edge and not go over the actual circles that I'm putting down. I want them to all look like some are in the foreground, some are in the background. That's what I want it to look like. Now, this particular stamp set, I'm using 2 stamp sets on this layout, and both of them I got from TEMU. I paid for them myself. I don't have an affiliate link or anything like that. I was asked to try the products and see what I thought of them, and I'll be honest with you, so far the stamping products, the dyes, all of that, I've tried all of the ones that I purchased and they all work perfectly. The Dragonfly, there is one stamp that I got that you'll see me use shortly in the Dragonflies, and one bit of its wing is not cut out properly, which was disappointing. But one stamp, I got $60 worth of product, and to be honest, I wasn't sure whether it was going to be good, bad or ugly, but it actually turned out pretty good. I did have one thing that was cracked, which was a container, but other than that, seems all good for me. So, you know, you do you. I will support Australian as far as I possibly can, but I won't make purchases that I can clearly see are ripping off the original artist. But things like this, they're generic, they're simple stamps, and it worked for me. So this particular section, this is the yellow. If you're over on my Facebook group, you will know that I bought a bundle, like I bought a stack of VERSAFINE CLAIR inks, not really knowing the color palette myself, not being able to see it, so just relying on the lid. And I purchased one, and it was called Golden Meadow, and the lid looked yellow. It's not. It's more of a green yellow. So if you're comparing it to the Distress, it's probably more like a Twisted Citron than than an actual yellow. No harm, no foul. I'll use it, don't you worry. I'll use it on something. But this particular layout, I was going for all the bright colours. Not necessarily a rainbow, just pulled a bright one of each sort of colour. And you can see I'm going through there and just creating pie wedges is what... I don't know how else to explain it. It looks like a pizza wedge or a pie wedge. That's what I'm creating. Now, I will have listed below. I'm just thinking, do you want me to prattle off all of the inks? I will tell you the inks that I've used. So at the moment, I am using the VERSAFINE CLAIR inks, right? I used Charming Pink, Glamorous, Summertime, Cheerful, Verdant. Verdant? I don't know how you pronounce that. That's the bright green. Purple Delight, Twilight, and Warm Breeze. I also use the VERSAFINE ONYX black ink as well, which has been in my collection. I've actually had that particular ink for, I think off the top of my head, about 11 years, maybe slightly longer, and it's still going strong. Still going strong. Then I used... I'll go through those when I get to it. So these are the VERSAFINE ONYX black inks that I used. Now, I will let you know when I get to doing the next part what colour bits and pieces that I use. I absolutely love these stamps. They're different. They're not just plain circles. I think they're gorgeous. They're so pretty. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? I love them. They're really good. Now, give you a life update. Stick around for the end because the end reveal is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And I use a lot of dragonflies. So just so you know, stick around, especially if you love dragonflies. Or if you don't, you may not want to stick around. Now, I am... This weekend, what happened this weekend? So we had no gymnastics this weekend. No comps. Comp season for us is pretty much over. I think we got a couple of in-house ones, but comp season itself is over. So we're just doing training now. Just train, and get ready for next year. Gymnastics has a very short... They don't do competitions all year long. They do them through the winter months, not the summer months. And yeah. AFL. Can I scream this from the rooftops? Angela played a game of AFL today, and to say they won by a landslide feels like an understatement. I feel like I need to cheer and say this from the rooftops. They actually won. So it was at their home ground. I love these little dragonflies. Aren't they gorgeous? I could not believe these little dragonflies are stunning. They're so adorable. And there's 3 or 4 different little tiny ones on this sheet. This is the best. If you love dragonflies, I love dragonflies. And they're good juju for me. When I see dragonflies, I know I'm on the right path. So I will... Maybe I'll link the 2 stamp sets. I'll put the links in the description. They are not affiliate links. So if you click on them and you go to them, I don't get a kickback or anything, but I'm happy to leave them there in case you want to have a look and maybe make a purchase yourself. Yeah, I had no issue with it. The only thing I will let you know is the because it comes just wrapped in a plastic bag with a bit of bubble wrap, it didn't necessarily, it wasn't packed well enough for me to order the plastic containers again that I use for all my little sprinkly bits. That I wouldn't do again. But anyway, so I'll leave the links for that below. Now, all I'm doing here is adding some nice shimmery watercolor goodness to a sheet of cardstock. There is no prep on this. There's no gesso. There's no nothing. It's not watercolor cardstock. It's just my Poppy Crafts cardstock that I use and I get from Crafts Online. And yeah, So I'm just whacking down some colour, just some pearlescent colour. This particular watercolour set is pretty cheap. I think I got mine from Spotlight forever ago, and it goes forever and ever. That I just sprayed is my, I wanted that green at the top a little bit lighter. That's why I just did that. The gold spray, mica spray that I just sprayed is fantastic. The way that I've made it, it doesn't come off. So once you spray it down, that's where it stays. So I absolutely loved it. And these are some different Dragonfly stamps. Now, if you take a really up close bit of notice, you'll notice that the stamp I'm using at the moment is, there's a little chunk out of one of the wings. Doesn't really bother me. It just makes it look more real, I guess. So it's not the end of the world for me. If you wanted to, I suppose you could actually pencil it back in with a black pen, but I'm not worried. So now I'm going around the edges. So I fussy cut, I stamped all those out. You saw how I did that. And then I fussy cut them out. If you would like to use a die, this particular one didn't come with a die, but if it did, I would buy it, because I would cut out so many of these things because I love them. I would rather use dragonflies on a layout than butterflies. So just chucking it out there. Sorry, I needed a drink. It's the end of the day, and I was sitting in the sun this morning watching Angela play footy. And did I tell you the score? I don't know if I told you the score. It was like 120, 121 or 124 to 20. So the girls smashed it. So now they're into the semi-finals, which is really exciting. And just really, really excited about that. So let's go Lions. So here you can see I went around with my pokey tool and I put some holes all the way around, and I used embroidery floss. I didn't make you watch all of that. But I went around the whole circle with embroidery floss to add some extra texture. This particular layout, I'm not trying to make it bulky with texture and foam tape and all that sort of stuff. I'm not really trying to do that. I'm trying to make some of my layouts a little bit flatter. And this one is fantastic. Now, what I'm doing here is I've pulled out my Distress inks. These are not the oxides, these are inks. So these are transparent. So when you put them down, you can't really build them up. You can't put one over the top of the other. They will mix. But you can do the wet on wet technique, which is what I'm doing here. That's wet on wet. Just use some watercolor painting knowledge. I'm doing wet on wet in the circles, just to add a bit of color to the background. I'm not using super bright colors. I'm trying to get some color on the background, but make sure it still stays in the background. So the stamping I went through, that's nice and bold. I don't want this color to take over, I guess. So I'm using the Distress inks, and I'm just mixing them with a little bit of water and then matching them up roughly to the stamps. Now the stamps are like one shade darker most of the time. And it's hard to match up two different inks. So Distress goes with Distress, and that is why I have purchased so much of the Distress line when it comes to mixed media, because it all matches. It's all designed to work together and all that sort of thing. The VERSAFINE CLAIR inks don't match them perfectly, but I'm okay with that because it gives me a different color range. So I'm okay with that. Now I go around and I'm using a watercolor brush. This one is a finer one. It is a number 8 round that I'm using, and it's making it quite easy. Now I did put these 2 pink ones down, but they weren't really the color that I wanted. I couldn't lift it back up I don't know why I thought I would like it when it dried, but I do not like it. So I basically came back in and I've used, let me see, I used KITSCH Flamingo, and that gave me a really nice colour. So some of those circles are slightly lighter, and I think I did come back at another, like I let it dry and then I came back again to lift a bit more off. So this is Wilted Violet that I'm putting down here, and as you can see, I'm just putting down a wash. It's not really, I'm not going for a solid colour, and I'm going around the dragonflies just to help them pop off the page a little bit more. See how I just went over that purple with the same colour, but it just gives it a bit more dimension, and you can layer the colours up, because I wanted to do a little bit of layering like that with one of the other colours, so that those two slightly darker pink ones, I think that's Festive Berries I used, and then I came back with KITSCH Flamingo, and I wish I had used KITSCH right from the beginning, but it's okay. We live, we learn. It's not the end of the world, and yeah, I get there in the end. Now, I went through with tumbled glass, and it wasn't quite, this particular blue wedge is the darker blue. I believe it is, I have no idea what colour it is. No, it's left my brain. But I came in with Faded Jeans over tumbled glass, and I loved that. And this colour is Mermaid Lagoon, and I absolutely love how this layout comes out in the end. I really, really do. And it's not hard. Like, if you just watch my basic steps here, it's not difficult. I'm not going right to the very edge. This is very much a watercolour look. You can see when I show you right at the very end, when I zoom right in, you'll be able to see it's a watercolour look. It's not, imagine if you're going over it with acrylic paint, you would have a solid blocked out opaque colour. That's not what I'm going for here. So there you go. I think that looked pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. So then I left a couple of them not coloured in, thinking that I would like that, but as you can see, I came back in with it because I thought, one, I want to give a little bit more depth to these little balls, these circles, by going over with the same colour. But wet on wet will, just to give you a little bit of knowledge about the watercolour thing. So if you wet your space and then add your wet liquid to it, it will zoom around wherever it's wet. If you then let that dry, completely dry, and then you come in with the exact same colour again on top of it, that's how you get that two-toned shade looking watercolour. And you can do that as many times as you like. Just keep building that colour to get a deep, rich colour. Mine was fine. That's the colour I wanted. It works for me. So now I'm bringing in my little fussy cut dragonflies to swirl around, and I absolutely love how this turns out. They're just gorgeous. They're so beautiful. This may not be everyone's cup of tea. If you don't have dragonflies, you might like to use butterflies. You might like to use shapes in general. You might put stars where I've got my butterflies. You might like to do your stamping. It might be stars that you use on the inside and stars around the outside. You could do another layout like this. Could be something like, in the US, you guys have 4th of July, and you could make a layout like this very patriotic. You could do something like that. Here in Australia, we have Australia Day as well, and you could quite easily make this sort of layout for that. And if you do, you could use, literally, you could use stars. You could do, what else could you do on there? My brain's gone blank now. This is what happens when you've been up for way too long. way, way too long. What am I doing this? I'm doing this at like 8:30 at night. So, you know, been going a little bit today. Did the grocery shopping as well as kids' sport and all that sort of fun stuff. So Taylor went and watched her brother swim again, and unfortunately he didn't make it in he did. Okay, seriously, let's just talk about the elephant in the room for a minute. He did backstroke, 50-meter backstroke, and he was disappointed with 29 seconds. Can we just take a second just to acknowledge the fact that the boy, I can't even imagine swimming that in 2 minutes. Like, do you know what I mean? 29 seconds. That's crazy. But, hey, our kids push out. They push them. We encourage, they push themselves. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's going to be wonderful for them, because they're going to hopefully bring that into their work ethic when they get a job. So that's a bonus. Now I'm going around with some flat sequins. These have no holes in the center of them. I got these from AliExpress in a big bag, and Taylor separated them all for me. Isn't she wonderful? And I'm just using my wax pencil there to attach them with some art glitter glue. Now, once I put these guys on, I think I'm nearly done. I've put my title there, Curiouser and Curiouser. Jen is inspecting her Cheerio skin. If you really want to know what the photo's about, she was tiny and she was inspecting the Cheerio skin. She was being quite silly with it and it was quite funny. Hence, I have to scrap it. Good news is, guys, the ink turned up for my photo printer. So I'll be able to print some new photos this week, and I no longer have to use my scrap photos that are just sitting there. So here's the close-up for you guys. There's a little bit of a trail behind each of them, each of these little dragonflies. Check out those different stamps. You can see the embroidery floss going around the circle. I absolutely love this. Now I'm going to give you my shameless plug. If you are new to my channel, or if you have been here for a while, thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it, and I would love it if you show your appreciation by giving me a thumbs up, or leaving me a comment, or sharing my page. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, because you know what? It's free, and very little in this world is free these days. So enjoy this. Thanks so much, guys. I'll chat to you soon. Bye for now.